pseudoscientific speculations.
Or the Trojan War. Destruction of Atlantis.
Atlantis, a fictional island featured in Plato's works Timaeus and Critias, serves as an allegorical representation of the consequences of national arrogance. Atlantis is depicted as a powerful maritime empire that once dominated the western regions of the known world, contrasting with the Achaemenid Empire. However, following a failed attempt to conquer ancient Athens, Atlantis incurs the disfavor of the gods and sinks beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean. Welcome to the place where you'll find your perfect accommodation. If you're the owner of a hotel, motel, or a similar establishment, don't hesitate to reach out for a potential collaboration. Plato's portrayal of Athens, resembling his ideal state, underscores the superiority of his philosophical concept of governance through the Atlantis tale. Despite its relatively minor role in Plato's body of work, the story of Atlantis has wielded significant influence in literature. Writers including Francis Bacon and Thomas More incorporated the allegorical themes of Atlantis into their works, such as Bacon's New Atlantis and More's Utopia. Amateur scholars like Ignatius L. Donnelly misinterpreted Plato's narrative as historical fact, as seen in Donnelly's Atlantis, the antediluvian world. Plato's vague references to the timing of the events and the supposed location of Atlantis sparked numerous pseudoscientific speculations. Atlantis has become synonymous with the concept of advanced lost civilizations and continues to inspire contemporary fiction, spanning from comic books to films.
While philologists and classicists acknowledge the nature of the Atlantis narrative, there remains ongoing debate regarding its potential sources of inspiration. Plato was known to draw upon older traditions for his allegories and metaphors, as seen in the case of the story of Gyges. This has led scholars to propose that Atlantis may have been inspired by Egyptian records of the Thera eruption, the Sea People's invasion, or the Trojan War. However, others reject this theory, arguing that Plato crafted the account entirely from his imagination. They suggest that he may have based the narrative on events from his own time, such as the unsuccessful Athenian invasion of Sicily or the destruction of Helike. Ancient perspectives on Atlantis varied. Some saw it as myth, while others believed it to be real. Aristotle attributed Atlantis to Plato's philosophical teachings. Crantor, a student of Plato's student Xenocrates, regarded Atlantis as historical fact. Though his original work is lost, Proclus reports on Crantor's beliefs, suggesting Plato borrowed Atlantis from Egyptian tales. Debates arise regarding the ambiguity in Proclus' text, whether the pronoun refers to Plato or Crantor. Another passage from Proclus describes Atlantis's geography, suggesting its former existence and reign over the Atlantic islands. Other ancient figures like Strabo and Posidonius also believed in Atlantis's existence. The Pillars of Hercules may have referred to mountains in the Gulf of Laconia, placing Atlantis in the Mediterranean. Ammianus Marcellinus recounts Druidic beliefs about migration from distant islands, suggesting ties to Atlantis, though these were likely northern regions. Philo, a Hellenistic Jewish philosopher, mentioned the destruction of Atlantis in his work, On the Eternity of the World, citing Theophrastus, Aristotle's successor. He describes Atlantis as a vast island greater than Africa and Asia, which sank into the sea due to a cataclysmic earthquake and flood. Early Christian theologians like Joseph Barber Lightfoot debated whether Atlantis was a real place or a mythical land beyond the ocean, similar to Plato's account. Tertullian and Arnobius believed in the existence of Atlantis, attributing its destruction to divine punishment. Cosmas Indicopleustes referred to Atlantis in his attempt to support the theory of a flat earth surrounded by water, presenting it as island that sank beneath the waves. Modern interpretations of Atlantis, beyond Plato's original account, have emerged from diverse speculative movements since the 16th century. Scholars began associating Atlantis with the New World, with Francisco López de Gomara being one of the first to suggest that Plato's Atlantis referred to America. This notion was also supported by Francis Bacon and Alexander von Humboldt. Athanasius Kircher went further, viewing Atlantis as a literal small continent in the Atlantic Ocean. These perceptions of Atlantis have roots in Mayanism, which originated during the European encounters with indigenous peoples of the Americas in the modern age. This era gave rise to apocalyptic and utopian visions that inspired subsequent generations of theorists. Many of these interpretations are regarded as pseudo-history, pseudoscience, or pseudo-archaeology due to their lack of academic or scientific standards. Abraham Ortelius, a Flemish cartographer and geographer, is credited with imagining the continents were once joined before drifting to their present positions. In the 1596 edition of his work, he suggested that Cadiz might be the remaining part of Atlantis or America, torn away from Europe and Africa by earthquakes and flood. Despite such speculative ideas, Atlantis remains a topic of debate and fascination, often mired in conjecture rather than concrete evidence. The historically proposed locations for Atlantis are primarily situated in or near the Mediterranean Sea. These include islands like Sardinia, Crete, Santorini, Sicily, Cyprus, and Malta, as well as land-based cities or states such as Troy, Tartessos, and Tantalis in Turkey. Northwestern Africa, including the Rikhat structure in Mauritania, has also been suggested. The Thera eruption triggered a tsunami that may have devastated the Minoan civilization, leading some to speculate that this event inspired the Atlantis story. Additionally, locations around the Black Sea, such as Bosporus and Encoma, have been proposed as potential sites. Before the 6th century BC, the mountains flanking the Laconian Gulf were referred to as the Pillars of Hercules, possibly serving as the inspiration for Plato's Atlantis. It suggested that misinterpretation of Gibraltar as the location, instead of the Gulf of Laconia, has led to misconceptions about Atlantis' whereabouts. The devastation caused by events and the Late Bronze Age collapse in the Mediterranean region could have contributed to the tales of Atlantis. The location of Atlantis in the Atlantic Ocean has captured popular imagination due to its close name association. While the Canary Islands and Madeira Islands have been considered possible sites, detailed studies indicate uplift over millions of years. Other suggestions include various Atlantic islands like the Azores, known for volcanic activity associated with rifting. The Azores Triple Junction has produced numerous volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, notably along the Terceira Rift. Additionally, the submerged island of Spartel near the Strait of Gibraltar has been proposed as a potential location for Atlantis. Various hypotheses propose northern Europe as the location of the sunken island of Atlantis. Doggerland in the North Sea, as well as Sweden, have been suggested by scholars. Doggerland, along with Viking Bergen Island, is thought to have been submerged by a megatsunami following the Storegga slide around 6100 BC. The Celtic Shelf and its potential link to Ireland have also been considered. Swedish physiographist Ulf Erlingsson proposed that Stone Age Ireland was the inspiration for the Atlantis legend, although this theory lacks support. In 2011, a team led by Professor Richard Freund claimed to have found evidence of Atlantis in southwestern Andalusia, specifically within the marshlands of the Dinana National Park.
Since as early as 1974, various writers, including Flavio Barbiero, have entertained the idea that Antarctica might be the legendary Atlantis. Other speculations point to regions like the Caribbean, with claims of underwater formations near the Cuba, or areas within the Bahamas and the Bermuda Triangle. Additionally, suggestions have been made for locations in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, such as Indonesia's Sundaland. Some draw parallels between Atlantis and the tales of a lost continent off India's coast called Kumari Kandam.
The concept of utopian and dystopian societies has been explored through literature, with notable works such as New Atlantis, depicting an ideal society. Thomas Hayrick followed suit with a satirical poem titled The New Atlantis, set on a continent of uncertain location, serving as a backdrop for social commentary. De la Riviere Manley's The New Atalantis offers a dystopian portrayal set on a fictional Mediterranean island, criticizing political hypocrisy. David MacLean Perry's The Scarlet Empire satirizes socialism through the lens of a foundered Atlantis. Velimir Klebnikov's poem, The Fall of Atlantis, imagines a future rationalist dystopia that has lost touch with its past. The Ancient of Atlantis, by Albert Armstrong Manship, explores Atlantean wisdom and its potential to redeem the Earth.